presentation. Hello, everyone. This is Soha, Chapter Director of Startup Grind New Cairo Chapter. Today's event is about Web3. Of course, a lot of us have heard on Web3, and we hear a lot of things, especially with the metaverse, and things are not clear yet. So we have with us today Professor EDDY, who is a co-founder and CEO of COINSILIUM Group Limited.
COINSILIUM.
And and basically he'll be walking us through what is Web3, facts, the fiction, and the future. So let's start right away, Mr. EDDY, by a brief on yourself and your business, and then we can take it from there.
Yes, sure. So I'm EDDY TRAVIA. I'm the co-founder and CEO of COINSILIUM Group Limited. I started in this space in 2013, initially with an incubator, helping companies to create at the time tools and applications on the Bitcoin network, because that was the main one then. And then in 2014, with some partners, including the current chairman, Malcolm Pally, we decided to create a company in the UK and basically list the company COINSILIUM in the UK, which we did on the stock exchange called Acquis today, and which we did in December 2015. And since then, we have been, first of all, investing in different blockchain companies, but we have also been advising and helping a lot of entrepreneurs in this space to grow their companies and to build solutions for the ecosystem in general, always focused on blockchain. And more recently, since 2020, we've been focusing more on DeFi, which is decentralized finance, which I will mention in the presentation, and then later on NFTs, and now today NFTs and DeFi and blockchain is actually leading us to what we call Web3, and I will explain a bit more about this.
Interesting. And I believe you had a publication or a paper, or you published a paper about something. Am I correct on that? If you can just share with us this experience.
Yes, maybe you're referring to coded income model. Yes, there is as well. I will talk about this in the presentation, but this is in relation to decentralized finance. It was at the beginning of the DeFi cycle, which started in spring 2020, trying to explain how we could bridge decentralized finance, which is very much crypto-centric. By crypto, I mean the whole cryptocurrency space, and then how to bridge this with what we can call the real world economy, which are entrepreneurs which are not in the cryptocurrency space. But I will explain that more in
discuss that
detail. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So I guess we can start briefly by having a brief on what is blockchain, because it's very perceived that blockchain is usually for market giants and it is for major transactions. So if we can start by that, and then feel free to go through the whole presentation, and I'll be pausing you in case something comes up or I feel that we need a clarification. And unfortunately, we are unable to see any questions in the chat, so I'll ask all the attendees to write down their questions in 5 minutes, 10 minutes at the end, to discuss any Q&As right away. Okay? So go ahead, Mr. EDDY. The mic is yours.
Okay, thank you, Soha. So yes, I mean, for those of you who already know what is blockchain, I'm sorry that you may hear a repetition from me, but you know, it's difficult. We cannot really talk about Web3 without going back quickly, at least through the origins of blockchain. And blockchain, although it is kind of an aggregate of different technologies that have existed, some of them for decades. The combination is unique, and the combination is what enables what we call digital scarcity. So basically, blockchain is this group of transaction records which are which are all recorded in different blocks of transactions, and because they are linked in what we definitely call a blockchain. It means that you cannot change any of these data without basically breaking the chain. So that's why blockchain has created digital scarcity. It's because it's a first technology that manages to actually make something digital valuable, in the sense that information cannot be erased, information cannot be changed, amended, tampered with after after the fact, after the transaction was recorded. So these transactions are all recorded in different blocks, and in order to add a block onto the blockchain, you need a lot of computational power. Computational power which has increased a lot since the creation of blockchain back in 2009. The first block was mined in January 2009. You didn't need that much power. Maybe one computer was enough at the time. And today you need thousands of computers in what we call server farms, trying to add a block to the blockchain and being rewarded in Bitcoin. So to be clear, blockchain was the technology and still is the technology behind Bitcoin. And then it evolved in many other types of blockchain, keeping in mind that a lot of this technology is open source and therefore replicable by developers. And blockchain, in a way, is a ledger, what we could call a shared ledger, because in a public blockchain like the Bitcoin one, anyone can go and see on a very easily on the internet, on a blockchain explorer, they can go and see all the transactions. Of course, they don't see the names of anyone, they just see wallet addresses, but they can see the transactions. And this kind of ledger has been with us for a long time, and it has been always very important. The first form of human writing was actually a ledger on a Sumerian tablet in what is today modern day Turkey. And this is about 3000 before our era. So we're talking about thousands of years ago. And of course, as we all know, ledgers have evolved into, for example, double entry bookkeeping, which started in the Middle East, but then went to Italy with the Medici Bank using it. And then, of course, today everybody uses accounting software, which are basically electronic ledgers. So
Okay,
in that sense, ledgers have always
can I,
been important. Yes.
Adi, can I
Yes.
tell on the first slide for the presentation? So
okay.
move the slides according. Okay.
Does
this
it
is
move
one
when I
thing,
do that?
and the other thing.
Do you see the slides moving? Because I'm not on the first one.
No, to me it's still on the first one. Attendees, do you see the slides moving, or it's just still on the first one?
Stuck in the first one.
Okay, that's strange.
Yeah, now it's moving, Eddie.
Yeah.
Now it's moving.
Now,
it is
number
on
so maybe,
okay?
maybe I need to move away from the full view. Okay, I'll make sure. Okay, then I go back to full screen, and maybe when I move, I make sure I go back and forth. Okay, so now you are on the slide called Truth About Blockchain, right?
Yes.
Okay. So in 2017, blockchain has been called a foundational technology in Harvard Business Review, and the World Economic Forum added blockchain among the 4 pillars of the 4th Industrial Revolution. So just to give a bit of a context in terms of the importance of that technology. Okay, I will move like this to make sure we don't lose it. So just to give a brief overview of what happened since 2009, The first applications of blockchain were what we call transactional users. So basically people sending value or Bitcoin or cryptocurrency to each other. This is kind of, we can make a parallel between email and the internet and what is Bitcoin, which is basically a transactional application of blockchain. But then with the advent of Ethereum, which was which still is a programmable blockchain, a sense that you can actually write smart contracts and have these smart contracts directly running on the blockchain. This really created thousands and thousands of new applications around this, because all of a sudden you can bring a business logic into the blockchain. And so that was a big step in the growth of this technology and the whole industry, as well as we will see. So now if we move to a kind of a prediction by specialists, Gartner Group is very well known in IT and has made a lot of reports and research on different technologies. We can see that right now we're in the phase 2, which is kind of the still investment phase of blockchain, and that's definitely true if you look at the billions of dollars that have been invested in this space now for the last few years, and still in a growth period. And then in phase 3, 2027 to 2030, by Gartner Group, we should usher into the large scale economic value add for these technologies. So we're still in the growth and I would say early phase of blockchain. And then we will talk about the different aspects. Yes, so
Can I just pause you here? So basically, what we're doing on the blockchain, or basically what a blockchain is I'm trying to simplify it to some of the attendees, that it's a mega structure that is to record transactions and movements for feedback, for acknowledgement, for any business inquiry or most. And what's happening is it's been on since for the past 50 years, I'm guessing, that, or when you said that they're starting to turn it into a trust machine. And gradually what's happening now is the expansion part of the blockchain, or should I say the expansive integration of blockchain in our day-to-day life. Am I correct on that?
Yes, the adoption phase, correct. Everyday life, and also as you were saying, the business as well, enterprises that are also integrating blockchain as well. Yes.
Okay, and it's expected, or the Gartner showed that after 2030, what will happen? Can you please clarify that for the future of the blockchain?
Well, it basically will be transiting into what we call large-scale economic value add, meaning that blockchain is used so at so many levels that it becomes, I would say, maybe a bit like the internet, or some applications of the internet, like for example e-commerce. It becomes permeating all our lives and basically start to really create value add in our lives and in our economic system, because we're still in the phase where people are learning about it. There's still an education curve. Not everyone in the world has a wallet yet. There is a slide about adoption as well, but so we're still in a fast growing in a fast growth period. But after 2027, because blockchain will be used in so many institutions, businesses, and so forth, then we have real impact, let's say, on society at large.
Okay.
So this next slide is kind of confirming a bit the what we were saying. So just to give some perspective, 2016 was still very early days. A lot, mostly driven by developers, building smart contracts. regulators as well, still learning about this, getting more familiarized. But of course, some jurisdictions are ahead of others. And then 2023, which was estimated at the time, is that we have more blockchains working at scale. We have scaling solutions. We have what we call regulator adoption, meaning regulatory frameworks are designed in large economies so that entrepreneurs, so that users, so that traders can actually use it, and with what we call regulatory certainty, meaning removing all the uncertainties from the dangers of being prosecuted, the dangers of having their business shut down, operations shut down, banking accounts shut down, etc., which has happened, of course, in many cases because of the regulatory uncertainty. And beyond that, then we're moving to what we call broad blockchain adoption with a much larger market value. So 2020, we have already reached last year almost $3 trillion market value of all cryptocurrencies, and beyond we would go to maybe 10 trillion in the future.
Interesting.
So this is one graph about cryptocurrency adoption, which we see is very much in parallel to internet users growth. The difference here is we're talking about blockchain wallets, because that's one way to measure the adoption of the blockchain technology in general. So in order to use it, to interact with the blockchain, to send value, any form of digital currency, you need a wallet, and therefore, obviously, the more wallets, the more users around the world.
Okay,
so this is a forecast.
If you brief to people what cryptocurrency and the myth and the fact that some people say that cryptocurrency is a big myth and it's going to collapse soon, and others say it's the future because it has, or it's just as Facebook started, people did not believe in it, and then it became a social leading network for all other, or connecting people around the world. So if you can just brief in a sentence or two, what is cryptocurrency? And I believe from your chart here, we can tell how cryptocurrency is correlated with the blockchain.
Yeah, blockchain in internet as well. Yeah. So
what is cryptocurrency? A brief on cryptocurrency.
Yes. So basically, the first cryptocurrency was Bitcoin. Is what we call the native cryptocurrency, because you needed Bitcoin to interact on the Bitcoin network or Bitcoin blockchain. But then, as I was saying, with the advent of Ethereum, for example, you have new types of cryptocurrencies which are on smart contracts, and this means that you can have thousands of cryptocurrencies today, and that's the case because they don't all need their own blockchain. So cryptocurrencies today, some of them are existing blockchain. This blockchain can be Ethereum, can be Solana, can be Avalanche, can be Cardano. I mean, they are, let's say, tens of major blockchains that we usually call layer ones, which means they are in this. If you look at things a bit like you look at the internet, layer one, layer zero would be kind of the internet, basically the infrastructure on which you can build a blockchain. Then layer one is a blockchain itself, and layer two is usually a side chain or a parallel chain to a blockchain where you can actually use the layer one to, for example, secure the layer two. But if you go back to cryptocurrencies, then today you have this ecosystem of thousands of cryptocurrencies on different layer ones or layer twos, different type of blockchains. And you have to separate the technology and the cryptocurrency and kind of the financial aspect of the cryptocurrency, because when people say, for example, cryptocurrencies will not last, they may talk about a certain type of cryptocurrency, a certain coin, for example. But blockchain, obviously, it's an open source technology, and and it's doing well, and there is increased adoption. So you have to make the difference between the two. So yes, so there is no risk that blockchain as a technology goes away, because so many people are involved, very large institutions, central banks, governments, etc. But there is, of course, a risk that one specific cryptocurrency can die tomorrow, because that's more in the speculative financial side of things.
Yes, I guess you basically clarified it out when you said that people have to separate between the technology of cryptocurrency and the financial value or the financial aspect of cryptocurrency. So when we hear about myth, it could be for a certain coin, but cryptocurrency is an overall direction that the whole world is going through and is adapting by as a type of what you were saying, pattern or development to the blockchain. Am I correct on that?
Yeah, correct. Yes.
Okay, perfect. Please continue.
So the just quickly, I want to go over smart contracts. Very important in the world of blockchain. So smart contracts are basically code and programs that are running on the blockchain. Um, a very easy way to look at smart contracts is a vending machine, because in a vending machine you put a coin and you get a soda can or chips or whatever. So there is an input, there is an output, and in between there is a process. And that's how simply smart contracts work. You input some information, data, there is a process. For example, the data will be compared, the data will be processed in some way, calculations may happen, and then there is an output. And it's what we call deterministic, meaning that the same input should lead to the same output, as long as there is not a variable in there that can modify the process. But if there isn't, there is no external, let's say, variable that comes into play, then a given input should give the same output. So this is a basis of smart contracts, and smart contracts have enabled what we call tokenization, because these little programs, these little codes, can basically manage, govern new tokens on a blockchain. So the difference we make when we are in this space is that a coin, a native cryptocurrency, is the cryptocurrency you need to interact with the blockchain. So let's say in the case of Ethereum, it would be ETH or Ether. And because it's a one you need, you always need it as well to pay fees to transact on it, right? But on top of that, a smart contract can create a new token, and that's why we don't use the term, let's say, native crypto anymore. We use the term token, because that token is basically still needs to use the Ethereum blockchain in this case, and you still need ETH to interact with the blockchain. So you always need the two balances on your wallet, the token and Ethereum, to pay for the transaction fees. So tokenization is, in a way, representing any asset into a token. So it's very similar to what people are familiar with, which is securitization. Securitization has been for a long time to represent any kind of financial asset value or commodities as a share, a security, right, that you trade on a financial market. So here you basically take the same concept, but you move into a new technology, which is blockchain, where you digitize at the same time this value, you make it become a token, and that token can be maybe split, can maybe lent, borrowed, etc., on a financial exchange, which is actually usually a cryptocurrency exchange, or as we will see, a decentralized finance exchange.
Okay, so let me just pause here and try to rephrase it simpler. So basically, a smart contract would be a self-executing contract between me and the platform of where I create from it something that's called a digital token or tokenization. And this tokenization is basically I'm bringing or I'm giving value to anything that's assets in the business that is non-digital. I'm putting the value on the digital blockchain. So basically, If I have a bottle of water, for example, and this bottle of water has a certain value in our life and not in the digital world, so what I would do is I would, example, go on a smart contract, see how much the bottle of water is valued or looks like or how it's measured, and then I input or I go with the data that's needed, and then after that, the smart contract will deliver for me a token, and this token is basically the value of the bottle of water in the digital world or through the blockchain. Am I correct on the phrasing of that?
So the first thing is a smart contract is not only for creating a token. A smart contract can also be, for example, an insurance kind of contract or another kind of application, anything that a code can do on the blockchain. That's one aspect. But yes, a smart contract, as I said, correct, is also to create digital tokens and to govern them. Now, the value actually is separate from this. The value can be the value of a token representing an asset, like, for example, a bottle of water, like you were saying. That value is not part of this process. The value is probably part of a price discovery mechanism on an exchange or even a peer-to-peer exchange, whereby you can find the price of an asset between people. So smart contracts can be used for tokens, but not only. It can be for a broader use. And you can have asset tokenization, like a bottle of water or a painting, an art piece, or a car, a vintage car, or whatever. And the value of it can be discovered or traded on a different exchange. These are parts of these are different elements of the process. Yes.
Okay, so basically what I'm seeing here is that tokenization or token is just a terminology like currencies, but how do we use it or how do we play with it is dependent on what you have present in this slide. Am I correct on that?
Yeah. It's basically a foundation for a lot of different applications. So yeah, that's why this slide is looking at different type of digital tokens. So as I was saying, cryptocurrencies is one, usually runs on a blockchain, but here we use the term DLT, distributed ledger technology, which is basically the same thing. Utility tokens are the ones that, let's say, are usable, have a certain utility on a protocol or on a blockchain. And then you have security tokens, which include an investment aspect or a financial aspect. And these ones are basically stocks or bonds or asset-backed tokens, like could be real estate. And these ones fall under different, regulatory regimes, but they are traded on a blockchain. They can be traded on exchanges, and they can be programmed through the smart contracts that we were talking about. And then you have different other types of tokens, such as stable coins, which are coins which are supposed to be pegged to a certain currency that we call fiat, meaning a government currency. So, for example, US dollar usually. So many of them are pegged on the US dollar. And this enables you to exchange digitally digital US dollar, let's say, from one account, one wallet to another. And then you have non-fungible tokens, which are, because all these tokens in a way are fungible in the sense that my Bitcoin is the same as your Bitcoin and anybody's Bitcoin, so fungible. But non-fungible tokens means one token, is not exchangeable with any other token because it is unique in its, for example, a work of art or a certain in-game assets that is unique, and that's why we call it non-fungible tokens. So these are, briefly, a few categories, a brief taxonomy of different tokens.
Okay,
Digital tokens.
can I pause you here and ask you for a live example for a non-fundable token? Because I believe
Mm-hmm.
we have, I mean, the other types of digital tokens, one way or another, we have seen them in our world today, whether it's cryptocurrency, utility tokens, security tokens, or stable coins. But
Mhm.
I'm not sure how to interpret non-fundable tokens in our day-to-day, or what are they, or how are they in our day-to-day life. So can you just give us one example, live example for non-fundable tokens?
Yeah, non-fungible tokens are also called NFTs. Maybe that's a term you have seen in the media. They have not been around for too long. I mean, on a, let's say, on a global scale, they've been around only for maybe 1 to 2 years. But they are now very popular. So one example would be a collectible stamp. One example could be a card of a football player. So there are some companies that are exchanging cards of football players as NFTs. A music record could be an NFT. So basically anything that is uh, unique in a sense. Of course, you can have, if you want, you can have 100 NFTs which all represent the same piece of art. It doesn't matter, but still each NFT will be unique in its own right, and still you can have what is the main difference, I would say, between all these tokens and NFTs. That NFTs are linked to a file, which is for example, a drawing, which is a photo, which is a music file, a video clip, and that basically creates a new kind of connection with the users, and people can enjoy. They can use this for their profile, they can share it, etc. So I don't know if you have seen in the news, but there was the MTV Video Music Awards, and some singers use their NFTs, which are called the bored apes. They use their NFTs uh, to sing, basically to represent them while they were singing. So there is a bit of interaction today of NFTs in the real world, or at least, and it's a lot in entertainment, to be honest. A lot of NFTs are in the entertainment sports space at the moment, but there will be other use cases, more, way beyond those main ones, entertainment and sports and art.
Okay, I guess this is what I have regarding the token, so please feel free to continue.
Yes. So this slide is just a recap of what we were saying, different types of tokens. So I don't think we need to spend too long on that one. Um, I, I will now we would like to go into more the Web3 aspect of this presentation. Um, so first of all, you have to make a little bit of a difference. Is Web3 as a term was actually coined a long time ago, before Gavin Wood, was more like a new iteration, a next step of the web in general. Tim Berners-Lee was talking about this way back, let's say. Um, a more open kind of web, a more open kind of internet. Uh, but when we refer to Web3 in the context of blockchain and crypto, we refer more to Web3 in the definition that, for example, Gavin Wood provided, and which is basically taking back ownership of your own data and creating systems which are basically censorship resistant, and decentralized. So Web3 is all around decentralization, censorship resistance, meaning no central authority controlling the process, and open source as well, and also the fact that as a user, you have your own right to use your own data and to own your own data throughout your life on the different applications on the internet. That's why we're going to talk about Web3 social media, and different types of Web3 applications. And we're going to talk as well about the metaverse, that actually is tied to this, to blockchain, NFTs, and Web3 as well.
Okay.
So
So basically, I'm sorry, Eddie, but
yeah.
basically Web3 is conducted to protect the user rights for the data, the big data that governments have ownership about.
Yeah, it's a technology infrastructure that helps people have more control over their data. Correct. Yes, because it's not dependent, or is not supposed to be dependent on any central authority. So you see, this is the very simplified evolution. Web 1 is basically client server, very traditional kind of structure, where people all get the information from a centralized server, centralized source of data. Then Web 2, we start having, peer to peer. We start having people exchanging. It's basically distributed IT infrastructure, which we're very familiar with and which people are using today in Web 2. But there is still ownership, and the model around the data ownership is still very much centralized. So, all the big, large companies, Amazon, Meta, Google, etc., they basically own your data. And then we go to Web3, where each of the users actually is building its own kind of ecosystem in a way, and it's part of an ecosystem where it can control his or her data. It can control what it makes available to other people, what can be used, and it doesn't. And we don't let large corporations basically use our data and make money out of it, which is obviously the current model of most of the large applications. So maybe this is clear in this slide, where in terms of architecture, the business model moves from what we call platform centric to what I call function centric, meaning programs that are actually performing a function, but are not. There is no human in the background saying you can go in, you cannot go in, you can do this, you cannot do this. In that sense, it is automated. It is what smart contracts actually can do, which means focus on a function without any kind of segregation, a kind of discrimination, because it is code, it is math, it is there is no human aspect to it. So it's quite important, because it makes a big difference when it comes to a lot of issues we have recently with politics, etc., in the world of social media, um, different people being taken out of social media, etc. So Web3 is supposed to solve this by focusing on the function itself. And also in terms of business model, Web3 is supposed to not use your data, private data, to, for example, sell advertising, sell a product, etc. But basically, you as a user are going to benefit directly from displaying, sharing this data within your network. So it's a very big switch in terms of business model as well.
Okay, can I here? I have two questions. First question is, when you say that Web3, I'm sorry, is more focused on the function itself or function centric.
Yeah.
As relieving as this is, that it gives everybody the chance to work around what they want, what they're looking for, etc., etc. Um, uh, doesn't it worry companies or economies that some people can go in there and do some type of malfunction, or should I say not malfunction, but I mean, some governments are very bureaucratic. So this way, under having Web3, they have no choice other than that all population has representative upon Web3. So does that create a concern of some type, or will governments still have the authority to somewhat limit according to the function?
Yeah. There's definitely a big debate around that. A good example is called Tornado Cash. Tornado Cash is a crypto mixer that was basically helping users of cryptocurrency to be more anonymous, so that you mix the coins around, and that on the other side of the process, it's very difficult to find out where the coins come from. Because when I was explaining in the beginning, blockchain, you cannot change anything. Actually, if you want, you can go now and see all the transactions on blockchain since day one, since January 2009. So in that sense, that's kind of a surveillance mechanism. It's probably one of the most reliable in a way. So it seems to kind of beat the other purpose of censorship resistance, etc. But you have the information. You don't know exactly who it belongs to because you don't have a name associated to wallets. But of course, tomorrow, the governments may want to have names associated to all wallets and may be very wary about what we call non-custodial decentralized finance applications and tools, because it does enable people to make transactions in a pseudonymous way, not necessarily anonymous, but pseudonymous way. So yes, there are friction to be expected in that sense. Definitely friction. And Tornado Cash is a good example because it was sanctioned by OFAC in the US. And sanction like this means that anyone linked to that who has ever used this service, crypto mixing service, is becomes blacklisted automatically. So it's very problematic for many people because obviously not all users of Tornado Cash had anything to hide. It's privacy is not doesn't mean fraud of any type. So yes, there is friction to be expected between these two worlds. Yes, correct. Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
So I just want to talk quickly about DeFi because when you explain that you can do all this in Web3, you have to look at DeFi. There are many parallels between what can be achieved in Web3 and DeFi, because DeFi is also a way to use finance to get yield, to lend, to borrow, etc. in a function-centric environment where the program doesn't care if you have a certain credit score or not, etc., because you're working on platforms that are dealing between wallets, and therefore there is no discrimination, no segregation. It's just whatever the program is supposed to do, it's going to do it. So there is another aspect of DeFi that comes into Web3, which is very important, is composability. Composability meaning that DeFi applications build on each other. If you have a good DeFi application, for example, for borrowing, it can be built and it can be used in another DeFi application. And this composability is also present all around in Web3, as we will see, between NFTs and Metaverse. So this is just a quick slide to explain that a lot of the traditional finance functions and what kind of primitives like what we used to use are all replicated today in a decentralized way, and basically through smart contracts, through exchanges, or what we call decentralized exchanges, we can do a lot of what traditional finance has always done, which is settling, clearing, lending, borrowing, etc. The major, funding, of course, the major functions of finance. And just one word is that's what led me to write that piece that maybe we mentioned at the beginning, whereby DeFi is very much almost a closed loop for crypto traders, trading between each other. How can we bridge this to the real world? And for example, we invested in a protocol called Silta Finance, which is actually unlocking DeFi and traditional lending for environmental type, ESG type focused infrastructure. So this is very interesting because the money from that normally goes to just trading crypto is going to go to actually, for example, pay for photovoltaic panels, for alternative energy sources, etc. So infrastructure that is used in the real world, and that's something that we have been looking for the last couple of years, and we're very happy that a company is actually doing that.
Yeah, I need to pause you here because apparently we need a whole talk around Celta and the impact of digital economy on local or real economies. And I believe this is also a concern for some people on how is this going to impact what is happening on ground when it comes to overall economy performance. So I believe Silta is the name of the direction that you guys are moving in, or I'm not sure you as in you, Eddie, but I mean the overall um, experts who are driving Web3 or who are pioneers in driving more awareness about Web3, the pros and cons of it, and solving the solutions right like that. Am I correct on that?
Yes, Silta is basically a company as well, a firm that is actually facilitating investments and financing, project financing in ESG focused projects using decentralized finance. Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
So this is just a quick look at technology adoption, just to show that technology adoption is much faster today. As you can see now, it takes only a few years to go to, for example, 60% of the US households to actually use a new technology. So, for example, in this case, the last one is tablet technology. So, internet is, of course, a very interesting one. And the reason why I wanted to show this is because I, instead of just comparing blockchain to internet, I also like to compare blockchain to computer in general. Computer, because computer has been a slow but extremely important, impactful technology for the whole. Um, sorry, maybe I've changed it for the whole society in general. And I think blockchain can have that kind of impact, but of course faster today because it's obviously building on internet, personal computer, different technologies that already been adopted very widely in the world, right? um, yes. So then I give you here some examples of NFTs, so these non-fungible tokens. So actually, a lot of very famous mainstream brands like NBA, like Gucci, like Disney, Marvel, football clubs, etc. As I was saying, a lot of these brands are actually monetizing their content and their brands through NFTs today. And for example, Nike has done a very lucrative deal with they bought a French company called Artifact, and they have traded more than $1 billion worth of NFTs already today. So it's very impressive in terms of uh, economic impact already that has been happening with NFTs. Some NFTs have been sold for crazy prices, millions of dollars. These are what we call NFT classics. Um, but the hype has already slowed down a lot, and the sales volume has dropped these days. And we still have expensive NFTs out there, but maybe not as, let's say, crazy space as it was maybe 8 or 6 months ago. The numbers are becoming a bit more reasonable in that sense. And very large companies like Visa, for example, have written reports around NFTs, how to engage fans in crypto and commerce. Uh, so there is really what has taken everyone by surprise is that NFTs have been an incredible conduit to mainstream adoption. We have a lot of mainstream companies and media are talking about NFTs now more than Bitcoin or cryptocurrency. So in that sense, it was very, very interesting. In terms of sales, as I was saying, it's going down. Volume of sales are going lower, but that's part of the usual, let's say, hype cycle. After a very strong hype cycle, we go down. I mean, obviously, as we know, macroeconomically, things have changed a lot now for over the last 6 months. So it's also a reflection of that. But I would say in general, there has been a kind of a bubble around NFTs, and now we're going to go in mode of building more useful solutions and looking at NFTs in a more reasonable way and what actually true value you can unlock through NFTs, because there's still a lot of value and a lot of potential in NFTs for sure, just more focused and maybe less what we call froth, less bubbly things around that. And NFTs leads us into metaverse, because a metaverse, which is a kind of virtual world, now the new ones are made up, which are on blockchain, like for example Sandbox and Decentraland, are actually basically an aggregate of different NFTs. The land is an NFT, the avatar is an NFT, the buildings, anything that you see in a metaverse, a blockchain-based metaverse, of course, is an NFT. And even the other metaverse, the one that were not built originally on blockchain, like for example Meta, the metaverse by Facebook,
Yeah.
even those start to accept NFTs as well, because they realize that there is no there is no way, let's say, outside of NFTs being interacting on the metaverse. So it's just a few numbers. There are many. McKinsey did a study on value creation in the metaverse, and we can see that it's going to drive $1 billion and even a $5 trillion industry by 2030. So that means all metaverse type activities, economic activities, so NFT trades, buying and renting real estate on the metaverse, virtual real estate, people working in a metaverse, people doing concerts and events in the metaverse, which is already happening. So all that can amount to about $5 trillion as soon as 2030. So it's really
Okay.
a growth, a
I just
growing
need to pause
industry.
you here because I
Mhm.
think I'm among those who just need clarification. So
Mhm.
basically, what you are saying is that the metaverse is created from or is a part of building blocks from NFT. Am I correct on that?
It's because it's on blockchain. Yes,
Yeah.
it means that yes, a lot of the assets, well, all the assets of the blockchain-powered metaverses are actually NFTs. Correct. Yes.
Okay. So this is one thing. The other thing is what is, or should I say, how can I phrase it? What is the link between, or how is the metaverse
Mhm.
linking with Web3? I mean, we're
Mhm.
saying that, or from my point of view, metaverse is the development of technology, that the virtual reality, and
Mhm.
giving experiences to people that are not able to travel or to save everyone's time or to communicate better, etc., etc. But how is this linking with Web3? I mean, can you just pinpoint that for us?
Yes, because it's basically what led to NFTs is actually the smart contracts that are the same smart contracts that you can use for building exchanges in crypto exchanges, Web3 social media. You can also create, basically, metaverse is uh, encompassing a lot of the different Web3 tools and applications that you can use. So on a metaverse, for example, you should be able to use different tools that are core Web3 tools. Some of them are called DIDs, decentralized identities. Some are called VCs, verifiable credentials. And you can also move your data around with you um, through something that's called uh, proof of attendance, for example, etc. So all of the tools that are companies and teams are building in Web3 can be applied to metaverse. And so metaverse is going to become a kind of center and, of course, experimental terrain as well for a lot of Web3 tools and applications. So the link is that they are really intertwined, in the sense that a metaverse can be a place where you test and you showcase hundreds or thousands of Web3 applications.
Okay. So the link is clear now, but what I'm getting from your talk is that metaverse is not only created for the social impact on our day-to-day life as humanity, but it has a different depth when it comes to impact and adding value to businesses and economies. Am I correct on that?
Yeah, yeah, it has. Many businesses will interact with metaverse differently. Yes, correct. So some banks can open an office on metaverse. Some label records can open an office. Some art galleries can open an art gallery on the metaverse. Yeah, it's like the real world. It's very much open to any activity. Yes,
It's like the real world. Okay. Here,
it's a
what would
mirror
you
in a way.
what would you say for people who or say that metaverse sooner or later will over the world and everyone will sit at home and do anything from a screen and everything basically from just a screen or via any digital technology. Do you believe that this is happening, or do you believe that no matter how developed the technology is, we'll still be interacting? It's only present to make our lives easier.
Yeah, I mean, obviously that's a larger debate, but I do think that there will be uh, yes, more opportunities for people. Yes, to live more in a digital way, definitely. Now, obviously, everybody will have a choice, but in a way, we can say that today we live already very digitally. I mean, we're doing this on a screen, and over the last 2 years since COVID, most of us have been working on screens anyway in a digital fashion. But yes, the tendency is for more and more activities to go digital, more economic activities to go digital. So overall, yes, after in terms of how we're going to live and how it's going to impact the way we live, that's a larger, deeper debate. But yes, I believe we're going towards a more digital life in general. Yes.
Okay. This being said, how do you feel that Web3 is impacting working?
Yes, yes, I'm going to move to that. Just before we move into social media, the last slide on the metaverse is about interoperability, because all these metaverses are built on different blockchains or different non-blockchain technology for some of them. And if you want to use NFTs and you want that your values, your valuables can be used on different metaverses, they need to be interoperable. And that's something that this company that we also invested in called Metalink is actually building. So I'm mentioning Metalink because interoperability is really a challenge and really an important part of metaverse as well. Make sure that we can change we can
I
switch.
actually thought for a second there that there is a unified or there is main guidelines that are set out by different governments
Not
for
yet, no.
interact integration of multiple metaverses and multiple blockchains. But apparently, from the last slide, what I'm getting is that's not happening, and this is what Metalink is doing. Am I correct? Am I correct on that?
Yes, yes, there is no standard yet. I mean, metaverse is still, early stage. Yeah, there is no standard. It will take a while before there are any standards. Correct. Yes. So Metalink is filling that void and offering a solution for people to actually make sure their NFTs, remain valuable across and be used across different metaverses. Correct. So Web3 social network, in my opinion, is quite an important aspect of Web3 because our lives today are a lot interconnected through social media. Of course, the main ones, Instagram, Facebook, etc., Twitter, and in all these models, we are the product. Everybody knows we are the product. They make a lot of money thanks to our regular interaction and thanks to our data, but we as a user, we don't make anything, we don't earn anything. So the idea around Web3 social network is that first of all, you control your data, you own your data, and you can also have fun on these social networks, and you can also interact with people all around the world, but you also earn something from it, and you don't rent out your privacy uh, if you don't want to. You basically you control what you show and you control what you don't want to show, and what you show, you earn something from it. So one protocol that is building one, let's say, company called Aave is developing a protocol called the Lens protocol, on which they want different Web3 social network applications to be built. Then there is a one that I mentioned quickly before called Proof of Attendance Protocol, POAP, which helps you to build your story, let's say, across different social media over years, and proving that you have done certain things, attended certain events, etc., reached certain milestones in your social interaction, in your life. And then you have another important element, which is your data. And there is one of the companies involved in that is called Disco, and basically they call that your data backpack. They enable certain granularity about the data you use and you show all around this social network. Now, what is important is in the Web2 world, you cannot easily, for example, when you go into your bank account, they're not you cannot really use your Facebook history or your Twitter history for your bank account. Why? Because all these are siloed, all these are different, and they are not also, again, they're not made for interoperability, etc. There are APIs, but it's kind of an add-on that is coming here that it's not very, very smooth. So if you take care of that at the very early onset, because it's Web3, because it's based on smart contracts and NFTs and so forth, then you can easily make sure that, for example, for DeFi, if you want to, you can connect or show your history or your reputation. So basically, you start building a reputation online with a certain guarantee, because you have the blockchain in the background as an infrastructure in the back end that actually makes sure that this is what you have done. So for example, you have what we call the verifiable credentials. And this is important because you want to prove that you have done certain things. For example, a diploma, you have a CFA qualification, whatever. You have a passport, of course, KYC, etc. And there are solutions now through decentralized identifiers, through public blockchain, to make sure that you confirm that this is known, and you have a proof to prove that this is your credential, without losing privacy at the same time. So that's also very important. And this solution is spread. I mean, it's a kind of a concept that actually started a few years back. Actually, Tyken is a company that was created in the Netherlands by someone who was coming from the Middle East, lost his right to be a citizen in the Netherlands because of some paper issue, like birth certificate issue, etc. So he created a whole company to help people, refugees, getting access to their data, making sure their data is preserved. And Tyken, in that sense, is very interesting as a story and also as a solution to this.
Okay, I just need to pause you here. First of all, thank you for the very insightful data. Secondly, when it comes to the verifier, I'm just going to ask you to go back to the slide that has the verification in it.
Yes, this
So
one.
the verifier, the way he verifies or accredits a user, he just checks the data that they have, but they don't have an internal database with his name, his private data, this or that. He just checks it and verifies it, and it's recorded on the blockchain as a user. But it's not like, for example, recorded on the blockchain that this is a user called EDDY, and just not everyone is accessible to who the user is. Am I making sense for the question?
Yeah, that's it. So you make sure that on the blockchain, the information only makes sense to certain people, doesn't make sense to everyone, because you need certain elements that not everybody can have. And also on the blockchain, as I was saying, the information is pseudonymous, meaning that you only see wallets, you don't see people's names. And the data can be, for example, an encoded, a code that proves that you have this credential, but that is not understandable to everyone. It is understandable to certain, for example, institutions that are part of this process. So yes, the blockchain helps to secure the data and make sure that the data can be shared with people who are supposed to have access to it. Yes. And because it's not centralized, you don't have all these usual hacking, like every time the government loses a laptop with the access to social security, data, then the whole world can find out who you are, where you live, and
Yeah.
your history, right? So this kind of verifiable credentials help prevent that. Correct. Yes.
Okay. Perfect. Okay, go ahead.
Yes. So now we're reaching the last 4 slides of the presentation. So you just want to come back a bit on the key concepts around Web3 and social media. So Web 2 is mainly entertainment. Web 3 is more empowerment. Of course, there is entertainment as well, but it's your own data and you control it. And also the idea is there is no central authority to prevent you from doing certain things on Web 3. As I was saying, composability is important, meaning you can build using existing tools on Web 3 to build your own Web3 platform. So basically, a Web3 social media is going to use an ID tool, a verifiable credential tool, a data tool, etc., and another tool, for example, from DeFi for borrowing money or knowing a kind of digital information for certain borrowers, lenders, etc. So Web3 is composable in that sense. Then you have these crypto primitives I mentioned. Then you have the notion of independent ownership of your data and your expression, no centralized authority, transparent governance of the protocol. This is another area whereby the protocol can be governed by token holders, a whole community, and hopefully, exciting and fun applications as in Web 2.
I
So
guess
this is
the best word to say or to describe Web3 is, as you wrote, it's about empowerment, giving people back their rights on
Mhm.
protecting and having access to their own data.
Yes.
And as you were saying, that at some point they can make money of their own data rather than having other people make money upon them or from them.
Yes, correct. Exactly. So this is an example of an existing social media app on Web3. It's called GM. GM is it means good morning. It's a very much it's a frequent abbreviations used in the world of NFTs and Web3 now in general. And as you see on the right side, sign in with Ethereum. So basically, all the interaction of Web3s goes through what we call browser-based wallets. So there are many wallets out there, and you use different wallets to access different applications. There are other applications that I want to share. One is called Lenster. Lens refers to that protocol I mentioned before, the Lens protocol. Lenster is supposed to be a kind of Twitter for Lens. And then you have Mirror, which is quite well known as well. And this one is for a Web3 publishing tool platform. So we already see here the composability in the sense that somebody can build a new platform and already use some of these tools if they integrate some of these tools if they want to. And the last point I want to make in this presentation is governance. I was mentioned quickly before, but what decentralization helps the world go into decentralized governance, which is again a very dramatic shift from the centralized, controlled, environment into decision making made in a decentralized manner. So people voting for key decisions, for example, for a protocol. So there are protocols in DeFi where they need to set certain fees, certain ratios, how much value you need to lock before you can be margin called, etc., collateralized, etc. So decentralized governance is basically the way to take these decisions, make these decisions in a decentralized way. And again, that's a very important part of Web3, and that's a very important part of the future type of applications in Web3.
Okay,
And that's it.
Thank you so much, Eddie, for the very insightful presentation and data. From your point of view, when will Web 2 totally disappear? Around what year?
That's an interesting question. Um, well, I would say Web 2 will decline, let's say, maybe not totally disappear. I think Web 2 should start declining in the next 5 years, declining in terms of user and in terms of I think we have reached a peak in terms of centralized how far centralized systems can go. I mean, maybe it's a bit of wishful thinking as well, but I hope we reach the peak because the amount of data that Google and Facebook are have on us, on us personally everywhere in the world is astronomical. It's really mind-boggling. So I think moving to Web3 will help. These are kind of attack surfaces in a way. When you have all these data of people stored in central locations, hackers can come in and do a lot of damage. So hopefully a lot of Web3 will come in whereby all this data becomes decentralized, much more granular, not one big company with so much data. And I think it's going to decline in the next 5 years, the Web2 dominance over this data world.
Okay, and last but not least, what should we as business owners or entrepreneurs go from here? Or, in other words, what is a take home strategy or toolkit that you advise us as business owners to go by or utilize?
So I think, yeah, you have different types. So for business owners, I think blockchain is very important. But of course, you need to apply a critical eye. I mean, one of the problems is that you have a lot of vendors out there that claim that blockchain is going to solve all your problems, reduce your costs. It's not the case. Blockchain is not a silver bullet. Blockchain is a technology. You can use it well, you can use it badly. Um, it can help you save cost if you use it a certain way, but also it may not. So I think business owners have to be wary of the fact that, first of all, blockchain is a technology that's going to grow, but it's not going to solve all their problems. um, as entrepreneurs, I would say definitely have a look. Do your homework, study about blockchain, NFTs, DeFi, Web3 if you can. It should change the way you look at the future development of certain businesses, and it should change the way a lot of business will grow in the future. And the community aspect is very important as well. So yeah, I think it's critical that entrepreneurs have a knowledge, even if they work in something completely different. It doesn't matter because it's a bit like the internet. It's going to touch basically all the industries out there.
Yeah, and I think last but not least, any tech or technology based entrepreneurs, I believe from seeing this presentation and talking with you, that if there's an opportunity to start right away on Web3, then I would go there rather than start on Web2, migrate to Web3. Would you agree with me on that?
If they can, if it fits their model, and if they learn about it first, yes, I mean, it definitely would make them be ahead of the pack when it comes to ahead of the curve in a way, when it comes to the next generation of successful businesses that you're already in Web3 mode. I think it would be quite a good position to be in the next few years. Yes.
Okay, I guess this being said, unfortunately, we're unable to see the questions for the attendees. And but I guess all the attendees, I'll just say how the flow will go from here and how we can overcome this technical error. So basically, this talk with Eddie is recorded and it's going to be uploaded via Startup Ground YouTube channel. So feel free at any time to go back to it and gain more knowledge and insights. And for those who have any questions, please feel free to send them to me. I mean, the event, you can't see here, or I can't see your emails, but once you go on the chapter itself, you'll be able to contact the host. So just message me all your questions, and I'll pass them on to Eddie right away. And Eddie, thank you so much for such a great talk and such insightful data and a lot of clarification when it comes to facts, fiction, and the future. And moreover, I'd like to thank you for your contribution to our community with Calendly Link. So basically, Eddie has offered Startup Grind New Cairo a Calendly link for 30-minute intro call or support when it comes to Web3, Bitcoin, and blockchain. Also, anyone who's interested into getting that link, unfortunately, I would have posted it on the chat, but due to Bevy's technical error, I'd ask you again to just log on the chapter itself. You'll find a bottom button that says contact the host, and once you send it to me, I'll be sending you right away via email Eddie's Calendly link to book forward your 30-minute slot. And again, if you have any questions, please feel free to send them via email, via contact host. It will automatically echo on my email, and I'll send them to Eddie right away, and I'll get back to you, or Startup Grind New Cairo team will get back to you with the answers. Sorry, Eddie, for Bevy's technical error. Sorry, attendees, for that, but I guess after all, this is a very insightful and perhaps one of the very best talks we've had since 2022. So I'll just wrap it up by saying thank you, Eddie, again. Thank you, attendees. I wish I could hear you. I wish I could open the ground for you, and I wish I could share your questions, but everything happens for a reason. Thank you, Startup Grind team, for trying your very best to overcome the technical challenge and trying to make this talk as smooth as possible. And I guess this is it for now. Eddie, before I close, do you have any closing notes or remarks that you want to say?
No, just the same. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Soha, for inviting me. And I hope this was instructive and useful. And yes, I'll be available for some calls if somebody wants to have a chat with me through the Calendly link that Startup Grind New Cairo is going to share with you.
Okay, thank you so much, everyone, and enjoy the rest of your day or evening, depending on where you are in the world. Thank you, Eddie, again, and have a great day to all of you.
No problem. Bye-bye.
Bye.